The Max. I'm Tony Ross. Great to be with you as we get ready for another hour on a Friday afternoon. And what a gorgeous Friday afternoon it is and has been. I don't know if you've had the chance yet, but we were on live at the Rockin' Rocky Special Olympics. And my gosh, what an amazing scene. These kids who are in special needs kids were treated and are treated all the way through the afternoon. Games, Olympic games, dancing. It's spectacular. And I urge you to drive by the rock pile today and just see everything, how it's set up for these wonderful special needs kids.
Yeah, A+ for Plymouth High School and so many volunteers that put that together on an annual basis. Like you said, Tony, was, what I loved the most, how many smiles did you see on kids' faces?
It was amazing.
Boys, girls, and it didn't matter their ages. And the Plymouth High School students, mainly the student council kids that helped, were just tremendous. I can't say enough about them. I loved their T-shirts that had the front said Rockin' Rockies 24 on it, and then the back, we are more alike than we are different. And just a lot of encouragement for all the relay races, the sprint races, of course, that we took, we're right up against the track. And from first place to last place, everybody being encouraged, lots of claps. And I just love the whole setup. I mean, they've got a dunk tank. Reed Galt and his senior son, Tanner Galt, are getting dunked, I think, as we speak. And then a great cookout for the kids. And
Mid-City put that together.
Yeah, unbelievable food spread. And like you said, games, I think they had a batting type game and then a free throw shooting game. And then maybe best of all was when all the kids were gathered near midfield at the rock pile, and they did sort of a dance-a-thon, if you will, and played everything from the Macarena to YMCA. And boy, everyone got into it.
Everybody was in.
And
that was awesome.
Like I said, you just can't put a value on smiling faces, and what a picture perfect day. A++ for Plymouth and everyone that took part in that fine event.
Tammy Radican puts that together, and the help, Coach Evermeyer was part of it this year, and he's just a great guy. And everything was perfect. Everything was perfect, including this day. The good Lord smiled and upon everybody, and it was just a great day. All right, we got some stuff to talk about here. Let's talk Pacers here for a second. I noticed.
Are they in the news these days, Tony?
They're actually playing really good. Unfortunately, though, they're going to find themselves down 0-2 going into tonight's matchup against the Knicks. The Pacers have just not been able to make the defensive stops that you're normally been used to seeing. And the Knicks are a team that can be a very good comeback team, which has proven to be the case, at least in the first two games. And it's like the Pacers are right there, but they're struggling just to hold on. But also making the news most recently is that Carlisle, the Pacers head coach, got fined $35,000 for blasting referees, in which, going back at I think he sent the NBA 89.
Yeah, 78 plays. 29 from Monday's game, and the rest from Wednesday's game. And
I tell you,
and I hate to blame officials, but
that was bad.
And you and I say frequently during our show, we by no means are NBA gurus and don't watch the game a lot. I used to watch a lot, in the Reggie Miller days, and attended when I was in college. We liked going down to Market Square Arena. That will really date me, but I haven't really followed it. So I thought, well, the famous that Reggie Miller made, the Hicks versus the Knicks, and I thought since they were rekindling that rivalry in the playoffs, I'd watch these first two games. And so I watched the fourth quarter Monday and watched the fourth quarter on Wednesday, and now I know why I don't watch the NBA. I mean, it's it's just very. I mean, I could go on, and I know again, NBA is very popular. Don't get me wrong, and to each his own. There's some people out there will say, "Hey, Doug Griffiths is crazy. He loves college sports so much." But be that as it may, I just get a riot out of. There's so many things. I mean, the fans are right. They're like in the bench.
Yeah, they're
for
right
starters, and then you're playing music during the game. I was often called the NBA a circus because let's be real, it's a bunch freak God-given ability freak athletes, but it's a circus. I mean, Pacers have the basketball and they're playing music and defense, and then Knicks have the ball, music going on, and then I didn't know, this will date me too. I didn't realize, and I found out, of course, Monday, that you could go to the monitor to review foul calls.
Everything.
I mean, it's a joke, Tony. There was a stoppage, it seemed like, almost every possession down the stretch in that Knicks game. And, of course, a billion timeouts. And on top of that, I mean, players just whining and complaining.
A soccer match.
Yeah, you nailed it. I was hoping you would say that.
I don't know. Why do they feel they have to dive or make it big and extreme? If I was a referee and I saw that, I would call a penalty, or
and the referees
call a foul for diving and acting like a moron.
The referees always side with the diver.
Oh, I know.
I mean, the one on Wednesday where they called, I think it was Miles Turner's basically walking in the lane, and the Knicks, I forget who it was, the Knicks player puts two arms half extended on him and then just flails back, and it's a blocking foul. And of course that came 2 days after the Monday night unbelievable, we're down the stretch in the waning moments, game's tied, Pacers have the ball, and they call an unbelievable illegal screen that,
because that never happens in the NBA.
Yeah, and then what you go back and watched, as Carlisle did, the previous possession or two for the Knicks, there was a blatant illegal screen set by the Knicks right in front of the official, didn't call it. So again, when you hear those of us that cover sports, 9 times out of 10, when we bring up officials, consistency is our main topic.
That's all you
Be
want.
Consistent. Because, again, during the course of the game, calls usually balance out. But, boy, I mean, after watching those 2 quarters and those 2 games, it's hard not to say Carlisle doesn't have a heck of a point. And, the NBA, like you said, comes out with that fine today. And their quote was he got the fine because questioning the integrity of the league and its officials. And you watch the game and you start to wonder.
Let's dissect that statement. Read that statement again.
Yeah,
why did he get fined?
He was fined for questioning the integrity of the league.
What integrity does the NBA have?
Right. And tell
me where the integrity is.
And this isn't something that's happened overnight. I mean, go back to Michael Jordan. Heck, I think there was a book written about the Jordan rules. When has their marquee players and teams not gotten or
preferential
treatment?
Yeah, don't use that
and
word.
there
integrity.
I found yesterday, Tony, there was a damning statement by a former NBA official that said, of course, he's now retired, but he said they had meetings before playoff games with the NBA front office, and after those meetings, the officials, this was his quote, and I'm paraphrasing, would walk out taking the court and say to one another, well, it's pretty obvious that they want the big market team to do well in this series. And because what they would do is the league would focus on certain plays and watch for these kind of, illegal screens, whatever it be, this kind of player, dirty player or something. But 9 times out of 10, the focus was favoring a big market team over a small market team. So again, Now they come back to Indy, like you said tonight, where the Pacers, I don't think I know they didn't lose a playoff game. They haven't lost there for a while, even back in the regular season. So it's a shame they're down 0-2 because this could have, at the very least, it should be 1-1. I mean, and like you said, the Pacers have been right there in both games. And the other call I wanted to bring up was, Turner and Halliburton said after the first game that he didn't shoot enough, especially in the fourth quarter, and it came out that he's dealing with a sore back. So the Knicks, another clip that's been making its round on social media, Halliburton is pushed by a Knicks player, two arms, for extended. I mean, blatant, right in front of the official, no call. And if you remember, the Pacers bench / Carlisle got 2 technicals on Wednesday night. I can't blame him. I don't know how any of Carlisle or his assistants didn't get run out of that game because I would have lost my mind.
I'd appeal that if I was Carlisle, and I would make it even a bigger issue. I would run this. I would run the NBA. I'd make it miserable for them. Because the way this has been called has been a joke. And when the NBA has the nerve to use the term integrity in the same sentence of that fine, you got to be joking. You got to be joking. Shame on the NBA. And if all is that. And listen, I read it or I heard it, and I don't like it. But even if it is correct that some of the bigger market teams are getting the call, more calls than the others, it's kind of tough to prove. But when it is so blatantly lopsided as it was, you can't even tell me. And if you're a true New York Knicks basketball fan, you can't tell me those fouls that were sent by Carlisle not legitimate question calls. You cannot. But that's if you want to be a purist. And you're right. This is why I don't like watching the NBA. And it favors, your stars are going to rise. Your stars are going to be protected.
And they don't need to be. They're already, like you said, they're stars.
And
they're usually head and shoulders above everybody else.
I kind of get it to a point, but man, not to when it's so blatant for the love of Pete. Come on. Be better, NBA. And stop using that word integrity.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Well, it does make
you haven't had it in the last 10 years.
It makes you think.
I don't care who your superstars have been. When you can walk out with chains around your neck and throw up signs and be okay with it.
Let's not forget
you don't got integrity.
I'm glad you keep saying integrity because if you think back to the Pacers' first series against the Bucks, remember that game when the Pacers eliminated the Bucks, they had the incident of the Bucks player throwing a basketball twice at fans. And
now I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to listen. If you're a fan, it's okay to cheer.
Right. Keep your.
But don't be a
jerk.
Don't be a jerk about it, because I feel you do deserve a Spalding right across your forehead.
Some of them will cross the line, but cross the line.
And they cross the line.
And the things they say.
So guess what? You deserve a Spalding across the forehead.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's just. Like I said,
But integrity, again, it's not like, come on, we're not dealing with a bunch of choir boys here.
No. And, let's not throw at least that word in the mix equal with the NBA. Just don't do it.
And
Here's one thing I am liking. I'm seeing a little more powwows on the court.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Because sometimes a foul is such a bad foul that it deserves to draw attention. Because the officials either not calling it or the inconsistency of not calling it or it was purposely done.
And we should say
intentional.
Monday night, another call. I mean, there were a lot of them, but they called a kick ball, and the Pacers ended up getting a steal. It wasn't even close to a kick. The defender got a hand on the ball, Tony, and of course the Knicks retained possession. And sometimes I'm watching these quarters, and a guy's awarded a free throw, and I'm like, what the world happened? He gets one free throw. I'm like, there wasn't a technical. I'm just like. And again, I don't claim to be an expert when it comes to the NBA, but boy, you got to be on your toes to try to figure out what in the world's happening and what some of the calls are. And keep in mind, these first two games in Madison Square Garden, the Knicks outscored the Pacers by 29 points combined in the second half. And of course, the Pacers lost the first game by 4, second game by 9. And again,
I think things are going to be different tonight.
Right. And credit the Knicks. I mean, Jalen Brunson's been unbelievable. He scored 43 in the first game, 29 in the second game. If you remember, they said at halftime he might be out of the game with a foot injury. And that's where the Pacers, then Brunson came back and, played and was the spark they needed. But he's got 72 points in the first two games. So Pacers have to find a way. But I will say this. When you're not fixated on the officials, and I'm sure that'll, of course, be the talking point tonight, but Pacers are fun to watch. They get after it full court, and they really do play good defense. So I'll be watching some tonight, but I'm sure I'll probably be texting Tony and be like, did you see that play or that call? And hopefully for Tony's
I will honestly tell you, if I
mental sake, he's not watching.
I swear to God, I'll flip it and watch hockey.
Which,
by the way, the playoffs this year have been outstanding.
Yes.
I don't normally watch it because if my Hawks are not in it, I'm not interested. But I have been interested in the playoffs. I mean, just like now, the semifinal series with the Hurricanes and the Rangers.
Yeah, the conference
back-to-back
semifinals.
overtime games.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to watch that?
I've been watching the Bruins, and the Bruins took a 1-0 lead in Florida. Then the second game was played Wednesday night, and the Bruins, as the Bruins usually do, they don't lose often. But the Florida really handed it to them, 6-1, I believe, was the final. And you talk about fights and scuff-ups. There were plenty of those down the stretch, and of course the Rangers. They're up 3-0 now in their series, so they look
Former
like
Blackhawk Anthony Panarin making a
how
difference.
in the world do you get rid of him, Tony?
How?
How?
I don't want to spend the rest of this hour talking about this because it's just going to make my blood pressure rise.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do that there to you.
But I'm telling you, I'm watching the hockey.
Yeah, it's fun.
A
lot of fun.
Canada's down to their final two Canadian teams.
Yep. Edmonton,
and
of course, and Vancouver.
They're playing each other.
And Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup in
years?
long time.
Yeah, I'm watching it, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm watching it.
Yeah,
and I love what I'm seeing. I'm loving the fact that these players are treating it as rivalry games. So there's physical play.
I know.
Let them play.
You're actually finally seeing physical play, right?
Let them play.
It's not like an all-star game, right? Hey, before we transition to something else, I'm sure most of our listeners don't realize, but Tuesday, the NHL lottery was determined, and the Blackhawks now will get the second pick of the draft. By the way, that draft is the end of June 28th, 29th. But they are expected to take a kid out of Russia if they can get him to come to North America. So if they don't get him, he's a winger. So they think is the best, second best forward in the draft. I won't even Demidov or something like that. Demidov,
I don't remember how it's pronounced.
So boy, he and Bedard would be a heck of a combination if they can.
Speaking of the Bruins, it's nice to see a former CMA player.
Yes,
on the playoff team.
Yeah, he's playing for the Bruins.
Yeah,
Laurie, who played after he played 3 years at CMA.
Yep.
First year was on their 16U team, and then the 18U team, and then went to Ohio State and was on the Big Ten All-Freshman team. I think played 2 years in Columbus before one of those years Boston drafted him. He went to Providence minor league hockey, and because the Bruins were somewhat decimated defensively, they called him up this year, and it's been fun. I've been watching him, number 6 for our
There's going to be a few more
listeners that are
C-Man players
interested.
that are going to make an NHL roster.
Yeah, and
Stay
I
tuned.
immediately asked Tony,
Stay tuned.
"Did you cover him?" And oh yeah, he remembered him, which I figured he would.
He was a forward then.
Yes. And it said in one
and
of the
on the right
stories I
side-
wrote, one of the best decisions he made was that decision to switch from forward to defense. I think he's 6'5". He's a
Yeah.
big kid, 211.
Just so athletic.
Yeah.
So athletic. And you just knew he was destined for big things. I know the Red Wings have called up, what they did this year. Last year's graduate? Big left defenseman. Crap, why am I drawing a blank here? He's going to be in the NHL this year. So, and he's a prototypical defenseman that you want. 6'5", 250.
Well, they're a lot bigger than they used to be, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, they're huge. These kids are
They're huge.
They're huge.
Yeah.
Even on skates, they're huge. So, all right, let's take a break. Come back, and we'll talk. I don't know. We'll talk about something. Okay, let's transition. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't forget. Caitlin Clark scored 12
You read my mind, Tony.
in the WNBA game. Who's that against? Atlanta? I think it was Atlanta.
And it was a 3-point win last
Yeah,
night for the
3-point win.
Fever
She
at
only had 12
Gainbridge
points.
Fieldhouse.
She had 12 points.
13,000 fans, plus 13,000 plus to see her. She was off shooting. I think she was, I had her stats 4 for 12, 2 for 9, 3. Right.
That's not Caitlin Clark numbers.
But the other thing, and we concentrate on her points, and for good reason, she had 8 rebounds, 6 assists. So not bad.
No.
And she's going to have those
She's
games
going to have these
where
games because it is a different level than it was.
it's not going to be 30 every night or even 20.
It won't be. It won't be. And so, she's going to have to figure out where she wants to be at and what she's going to need to tweak in order to be successful in the WNBA.
I know my aunt and uncle went to the game last night. They live in Carmel, and they love sports, but it just shows you like the Caitlin effect. And my aunt sent me an email this morning and said, "Boy, it's going to be a fun season." So the buzz is, of course, it is the month of May in Indy, so there's a lot of buzz. You've got the Pacers, but the Fever off the charts.
Minus the acquisition of Clark, they had a really rough year last year.
Yep.
But they got a couple of different girls in that are going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And if Caitlin can do her thing and be a good motivator, the Fever could be a really good team.
Now they're done with exhibition now, right?
Yeah,
Preseason.
it's regular season from now on.
I believe, I'm not sure the night, but they open, I believe,
Saturday?
at Connecticut next week, or is it this? Might be Saturday. You might be right.
I thought it was this weekend. I could be wrong. But, all right, where you want to shift next?
How about the NFL camp, which you had last week and this week? Teams get to pick one date, a set of dates or the other. For the Bears, they picked this week, so they actually opened rookie minicamp yesterday, and it'll run through today and tomorrow. They have 43 prospects there, including all 5 draft picks, and of course, talk about buzz. The big buzz is getting to see their number 1 pick, quarterback Caleb Williams, in a Bear uniform. And by the way, the number 9 pick in the first round, Odunze also, so you'll get to see them, and I'm sure video of them playing pitch and catch together will be circulating in the social media. And it's a new era in Chicago. It's usually for the Bears post drafts, we're talking about defensive players, but they finally might have at least understood what it takes to win. Now, of course, only time will tell, but they've made a concerted effort to get very, very offensive. And like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun just watching Williams and what is a lot of buzz going on about what a receiving core that he's going to get to throw to. That's one of the best, certainly one of the best in the NFL when you think of DJ Moore, Keelan Allen, and of course Odunze. So, and throw Cole Kmet in there, the tight end from Notre Dame. He'll have plenty of weapons. So, mini camp for the Chicago Bears ongoing, and
top 5 preseason offensive category are the Bears. They're not that in defense, though.
Yeah.
And listen, we can have all the firepower you want, but if we can't make a stop, I don't know. I think there are a couple of grabs that the Bears got will hopefully improve the defense, but that time's going to tell. And I'm going to pay attention really close to the preseason game. I think they're only playing one this year, right?
Well, they open up early. They're in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
So we'll get to see them early. Believe it or not, training camp, you think it's a long way away, but we're 2.5 weeks out of Memorial Day weekend, and you got, of course, training camps open in July. And one of the other big things after we get through these rookie mini camps, a lot of people will be focused on the TV show because there's rumors that the Bears are going to be the selection for, why can't I think of the name of the show that HBO runs?
Yeah. Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks, thank you.
Yeah.
That the Bears could be the selection. So it would make sense because I know a lot of people would be very, very interested, and it'd be great if they were on Hard Knocks. But again, they'll get things kicked off early in preseason, and it'll be interesting to see how many snaps Williams gets, how many does he play, and of course with the 18-game season now, I think you're right. I know preseason's been cut back. They might play two games, if I'm not mistaken.
I just, now off the top of my head, am I remembering right now? Guess I can search it up real quick before we take a break, but looking at the schedule, and their schedule is weird looking.
Oh, that's the other thing. I'm glad you said that because I believe next week they unveil, your opponents, but next week they unveil the entire schedule, the complete schedule. So that'll be fun to say. It's released May 15th, the whole schedule.
Oh, I can't find it. We're up against the time clock. Let's take a break. It's 12:31 in the morning. 12:31 in the morning. 12:31 in the afternoon on your Friday. All right, let's take a cut in the batter's cage and talk some baseball. Cubs are going to be in Pittsburgh tonight, and they're going to start a 3-game set there. They dropped 2 or 3 to San Diego. Had a chance to go see the Cubbies win the series against Milwaukee last Sunday. What a great experience that is. That's my first time there since the Ricketts family turned it into an amusement park. And there's still credit, and maybe the Ricketts are to do with this, but there's still a lot of good old-fashioned portions to the outside of Wrigley Field that I enjoyed. Has it been tweaked? Yes. But I have to admit, I walked into that little park area that they built alongside the stadium, and it was cool.
Yeah, it's a tremendous upgrade.
It was cool. It was neat. We went through it and had wonderful seats. We were 12 rows behind the first base dugout, and we had 4 tickets, row 1. So I had everybody the walkway in front of us. And man, was it an awesome day. Yeah, the Cubs won 5-0, but it was one of my best experiences at Wrigley Field, and I don't know how long.
It had beautiful weather, too.
And we had great weather, you know.
Couldn't have asked for anything more, Tony.
Yeah, we couldn't. You know, when San Diego came into town, you just kind of, I'm going to speak for myself. I was actually wondering if we were going to take the series from them. We were facing Darvish and then Dylan Cease. And it never fails. We always manage to lose to a former Chicago starter.
Remember, he was the throw-in in the trade for,
yeah.
which was one of the worst trades.
Just a throw-in. That's perfect.
They didn't even need to throw him in, did they?
Yeah. Well, they're loving him in San Diego right now. That's all I know. And he took care of took care of the Cubs.
Yeah.
Him and what, 2 other relievers, 1 hit us.
Gave up Jimenez and Cease.
Yeah.
For the starting pitcher that I can't think of, Quintana.
Oh yeah,
that was that trade.
Well, now they're going to go into Pittsburgh, 1-2, because they lost the series to San Diego. The good news is we're going to have Justin Steele back very soon. Talon, he's coming back.
Well, that's the interesting thing. You mentioned Talon. They've announced Assad pitches tonight, like you said, Steele tomorrow.
And that's
right
what we
now,
saw
Sunday is to be determined. So does that lead us to believe that something's wrong with Talon? Because that would be 7 days off for Talon. You would think it's his turn. I'm not sure. I don't know what to read into the
Well,
TBD.
if that was the case, it would be all over Chicago media.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I just wonder.
I wonder if Justin
what's
Steele gets
going on.
placed.
Well, Steele's supposed to go tomorrow.
Is he going tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Assad, because
Yeah,
you know
he is.
what? The big headline out of that is Pittsburgh has called up Paul Skeens. And who's Paul Skeens? Well, he's been compared to Strasburg. And he was the kid, the number 1 pick in 2023's last year's draft from LSU. He's 6'6", 235 pounds, and he has flown up the ranks of the minor leagues. I had his stats: 12 starts in the minors, 34 innings, 1.85 ERA with 55 strikeouts. So he'll be on the hill tomorrow.
So what you're saying, there's potential, but he's coming to the major leagues.
Yep.
You don't get away with fastballs. You don't get away with missed pitches. And so, I don't know, a lot of people have been talking about the fact that during the San Diego series, we were only able to muster, 5 runs in 3 games?
And that's been the story for a while now. The offense is on sabbatical. I mean, you look at, I did some research. Happ got off to a great start the first 10 days. Since
he
then,
hasn't hit an extra base in 3 weeks.
He's batting 169, and you're right. Hasn't hit extra base. Now there's,
I didn't know that.
Now there's word about Swanson is bothered by a right knee that apparently hurt sliding in against Houston last month. He's batting $159 recently and with a 31% strikeout rate.
Yeah.
So you got some issues in the batter's box for the Cubs, and maybe another slice of good news is Suzuki might return this weekend or will return. So, well, they could certainly use him because a lot of these bats have gone cold, and somehow they've managed. Well, not somehow. It's because of their incredible starting pitching, which I believe since early April, their ERA leads Major League Baseball in starting pitching. So that's how they've been 6 games over 500, and they're half game behind the Brewers. But as we talked about in last week's show, the bullpen has just been a disaster. I mean, game after game, blown save, blown game, blown lead. How much longer? And I know the Cubs, from what I've read, their front office it's early to make a deal, but you can still make, like Florida sent the batting crown champion. They made a deal because apparently they've packed it in on this season. So it is possible to make a deal. But you watch the Cubs, I would imagine, are going to be very active as we get closer to the July trade deadline to do something with their bullpen.
So too. Listen, as far as Dansby out of the lineup, we got Madrigal. You can put him as short if you wanted to. You put Nico. He knows how to play short.
But didn't he just get hit in the hand?
Well, he did. But
that's cause for concern.
Well, yeah, but I haven't read anything that said
I haven't. We'll know tonight, obviously.
Play, yeah. But, going into this, to me, this is more of a mindset than anything else. Because, Pittsburgh is in the middle of the pack. They're 17-21. They've dropped 2 straight. This is a team you're supposed to win against.
Oh, yeah. If you want to win the division, you've got
it. This beating Pittsburgh helps you get to where you want to go. But especially now when you're missing some key players. I think this is more of a mental series than it is anything else.
And they got Bellinger back.
And it's not like Pittsburgh hasn't got talent, because they do. They do. They just don't have the pitching. At least they got a 1 through 3, but after the number 3 starter, it's any, meeny, miny, mo. The Cubs are going to have to just keep course, but they got to start getting back to winning series. And that's all. So if you lose a game, let's not worry about it. Go get tomorrow's. Again, it's easier said than done, but it just seems this particular group kind of plays that way. When they lose a game, they turn around and have a great game. And then they'll win, and it'll be close. They'll win, it's close. And then they'll drop a game and look like dog crap. But, they bounce back the next day. That's just what we have here for the north side. And, you look at the standings, they're just half a game from the top spot against Milwaukee. They're not setting the world on fire. And then you've got, after the Cubs is in second place, you got Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and St. Louis. Well, those last 3, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and St. Louis, are combined 15 losses consecutively. 2 for Pittsburgh, 8 for Cincinnati, and 5 for St. Louis. Which, by the way, did you happen to see
I was just going to bring that up.
Wow.
And I guess they say that the Cardinals have been preaching for their catchers to move up closer to the plate. And, usually you see a batter's backswing clip a catcher, but not this time. It was his swing that hit and broke his forearm.
Yeah, because Contreras was situated where the coaching staff wanted him to be situated.
Yeah, and he's the best, or right now was the best offensive threat that the Cardinals had. And they're 7 games under 500, and they look like they're in store for a very long season. I know that breaks every Cubs fan's heart.
Oh, it does. It's just, ouch.
But that was. If you haven't seen that video, you should take a look at that one, because it's And you knew right away because Wilson got up, threw his glove, and was in agony, as you can imagine. I mean, that's extremely painful injury. I got it.
Is a strong and it takes a lot to hurt him.
Yep.
And that was a jar from the bat, and I thought it was. I mean, surprised it didn't hit it just right where the bone came out.
Yeah.
And cracked his arm.
Because you can almost see, if you slow it down, like when the bat connects with his arm, the indentation that it makes. I mean, it's pretty wicked, to say the least. And I've got to ask you about, can we say anything more about Imanaga? I mean, they're now talking.
I don't know why. And listen to his post-game comments and his interviews. This dude understands what it means to being successful by locking in. I mean, he's emotional, but he sets himself up to be successful with his pitching. He's shown that he's not afraid to challenge, but he understands you got to set up that 2-2 fastball to the number 4 hitter in the lineup. He's like, watching him pitch is like watching him try to win a game in chess. Not because of the speed of the game, but how he approaches it. And I'm just impressed with this dude. Sometimes I look at his fastballs and I think, how the hell do you not hit that pitch? But, well, guess what? That little lefty's faster than a hiccup.
1.08 ERA, 5-0. Now, he got a no decision in his last start because Counsell, I think, didn't trust his bullpen at all. Brought him out for the 8th inning. He ended up giving a 2-run home run. But, I mean, there is now talk, Tony, that at least his start of the year is mirroring Jake Arrieta's 2015 season. And, of course, you start thinking about free agent acquisitions for the Chicago Cubs, and it takes us back. I mean, this has got to be the best free agent acquisition since Andre Dawson in 1987. I mean, you start to wonder, well, once the scouting report gets, I don't know, the way this guy pitches, I think he's going to have a magical year. I by no means, I don't think this is a fluke. His start.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the way he locates pitches and changes speeds, and you're exactly right.
Changes.
Yep,
that's the key.
And he really appeared, at least to me, like a student of the game, and he has become not only a Cub favorite, but he's almost become a nationwide favorite. I mean, he's a colorful character, and I've seen everything from Fernando Valenzuela, comparisons, and you name it. It's good to see. I mean, baseball needs as many colorful characters as they can get, and this guy,
that's a good. I couldn't agree with you more.
Really seems to. What a perfect fit in Chicago.
But he fielded a bunt and didn't get the out, and he was mad at himself.
Yeah,
and. Man, that's self-ownership.
I was hoping when you went, you got to see him, but it didn't work out that way.
I saw Assad. Assad pitched well.
Yeah.
Assad was using that slider, and he's
been
moving eye location. You blank Milwaukee, who's a really good hitting team. See, and that's what I'm saying. We're winning because we got the talent that's still out there and winning.
And in fairness, they haven't had their
full roster.
All year, right? And heck, Steele was hurt the first game of the year.
Yeah, I think something like that.
And then they just finished. I didn't realize it until they were wrapping up the post game. Just finished a stretch of 16 straight games without a day off, and they went 9-7. Yeah. So, sure, you wish a handful of those blown saves could have been converted to wins, but. You wonder, and I think you touched on it last week about what this team's potential could be. But again, all these injuries start mounting up, Tony, and you start to think, well, is that one of those years where we're really snake bit with injuries, and it's just one after another after another?
It could be if you let it.
Because, boy, they've suffered a ton of them so far to key players.
That's my point. You could let that be your reason for being under 500, but these guys are not. It's the next man up.
And you're right.
And
They have
I
some
like
really
that.
talented utility players.
I like that. I think that's big on a team that's going to try to make a run. It's just you got to do what you got to do, which means you got to execute when you're supposed to execute, and you kind of go from there. So I don't know. I like this Cubs team because it has a little bit of everything. Christopher Morel has been better than I expected at third base. And Dansby's Dansby, and
Got to get Dansby hitting.
Yeah, we
and
gotta
maybe it's
figure
his
that
knee. I mean,
that
bothering him
could
in
be.
a batting box. I don't
want it to be
batter's
it could be.
box. And out in
Nico-
the field, I think he has 4 errors already. That's unlike Dansby, and they cannot afford. Hopefully, Nico's hand is okay because he really sets the table in a lot of ways. And between him and Sampson, I don't know if Swanson. I don't think you find a better up the middle defensive infield than those two.
Yeah, you're hard pressed to. All right, let's take a break. We'll talk a little Southsider baseball and more. Don't go away. So let me throw some names at you to see if you recognize them. Ready? Eric Fetty. Chris Flexen. Zach Eflin.
Zach Efron. What was that show? My daughter would kill me if I didn't remember that show on Disney, the movie that he was in, right?
Well, if you recognize those
What are those, White Sox players?
Flexen and Fetty, those are Chicago White Sox pitchers, starters.
Whoops.
Both happen to get back-to-back wins
There you
going
go.
into tonight. So, if there is one manager I would not want to be right now, it's Pedro Gafal. Nope. You can keep this job.
They've played a little bit better. I mean,
But they have,
4-6 in their last 10.
And they're 10-28, and they're still at the basement, but
And hey, they host
And I got to
they
admit,
host the league
I'm
or
surprised-
the top team this weekend.
I think I said it, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I didn't anticipate Sox getting 10 wins till June,
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're trying. Everybody's written them off. So why play uptight? Just get out there, have fun, play baseball. That seems to be the MO right now. And that's the MO you want when you are 10-28. and 14 games back of first place before you hit June or in the middle of May.
So they have first place Cleveland this weekend.
First place,
And then
Cleveland
next
in
week
the house.
they have another homestand with the Nationals, who are a 500 ball club.
Cleveland, they're 22-14, but they lost their last game. Followed by Minnesota, Kansas City, Detroit, and the Sox.
And next weekend they go to New York for the Yankees.
Well,
So the 2 out of the 3 series aren't going to be
And that's, you know what?
very
That's
easy.
really the approach you got to have. Try to win a series.
Right.
Try to win a series.
How many series have they won? They swept the
I think they only
Rays
have
at home.
One.
I think you're right.
I think
Because
it's
they
only one
lost 2 out of
series.
3, right, in Tampa this past week, if I'm not mistaken.
I do not. I don't think they've won but one series. And so, what do you have there? What have you got there? If you're the White Sox, and a White Sox fan, what is important here is everybody's got to stay on the same page. You can't let Jimenez get bored and let him start doing his thing, and when you just got to be together and go through this year-long rough patch. But set goals. Win a series. Win each series you're going to start. It goes there. You can begin there. So I guess as long as these young pups are playing well or playing hard, go support them if you're a Sox fan. Granted, the end result, it may not be what you want, but the effort's there, and that's why last year's team was so more disappointing, because there wasn't consistent effort.
Yeah. Well, now they start the season. Mancada, their third baseman, gets hurt, and he's out until at least July, and that might be optimistic. So, like we said on our previous shows, the injuries started to mount up, and that was part of their losing ways in the month of April. And you start out that poorly, and you basically set the table for a miserable season. Yeah. And it just seems to snowball, maybe in that sport more than anything, because guys seem to get hurt more frequently. Now the Cubs are bucking that trend, and they're still somehow finding a way to win. But I just think you have some where the White Sox don't. I think the Cubs have some very savvy veterans that are good clubhouse guys, and from Bellinger to and guys that just love playing for the Chicago Cubs and being in Chicago. And I think it's helped Imanaga to have a guy like Suzuki around, and Nico Horner and Swanson seem to feed off each other, and Happ seems to be a good chemistry guy. I mean, you can go right down the list. I mean, Morel is happy-go-lucky. He's just one of those. What I like about Morel, and I know we criticize, and rightfully so, his game from time to time, but he just seems to enjoy getting to take the field every day in the major leagues. And I talk about an Imanaga type player, a colorful guy. Well, Morel's sort of that colorful guy too that you'd like to see more of. And the White Sox have a lot of green and inexperienced players right now that are sort of thrown into the fire, and sometimes losing breeds losing. And I don't want to say we're going to learn a lot about this team in the next week, but just because, you're facing the Guardians, who have gotten out of the gate really, really well, as have the Yankees, and the Nationals won't be a walk in the park for the Sox either.
All right, we'll come back, wrap it up after this. High school baseball tonight. The Plymouth Pilgrims are in action.
Yeah, the Rusty Nixon will have their game from Bill Nixon Field. His pregame starts at 5:15, and it's been a tough season for Plymouth. Just won 5 games to date, 1 in the Northern Lakes Conference, so they'll be looking to get back on the winning track. Wawasee, the team they host today, nipped Plymouth last month by a run, so chance to avenge that loss and maybe get some momentum as we get closer to the sectional time.
And we'll be back on the air, I believe, tomorrow morning with the Bremen softball tournament. A couple really good teams involved, and it could be 2 potential sectional championship opponents, Wheeler and Bremen.
Yeah, Wheeler's a very good team. I know Bremen's coach has concern how they'll handle. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think Bremen's ace is going to go tomorrow, and probably Wheeler won't pitch theirs since, barring something unforeseen, LaVille plays Bremen to open that softball sectional. But assuming Bremen wins that game, then they'll be matched up with Wheeler in the semifinals of that sectional. And then, of course, you see both aces for that contest.
We're also going to be following the Lady Lions to their sectional champion game if they make it. And that'll be on a Saturday game. And so we hope that's going to end up being the case. But our baseball schedule will feature us going to John Glenn. Actually, in this case, Newton Park. For their sectional. So that's what we will have in our upcoming schedule for postseason baseball play.
And we'll have that section, the Glen Sectional Championship is actually on Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th. And like Tony said, that's how we're able to cover the Bremen Softball Sectional Championship, which happens to be on Saturday, 2 days earlier, the 25th.
So there you go. Just keep that in mind. That's going to do it for today's Sports Talk on the Max. For Doug Griffith, Tony Ross, have yourself a wonderful weekend.